only took off 6 days. And it feels like I've been gone 100 years. And we have had emails flooding in, phone calls by the hundreds, thousands of emails, people all over YouTube, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com in the comments. Where is Alex? Where is Alex? Where is Alex? And I tell you, I am really touched by the fact that every time I take a few days off, it becomes a big deal with the wonderful listeners. And I'm extremely humbled by that. And I mean that. I'm extremely humbled by it. But I got to say, a lot of folks I talked to when I was even out of the country miss it when I'm gone. People come up to me, hey, you're not on yesterday. I guess you're here. Where I was in the Caribbean. I'll tell you about that coming up. But boy, David Knight and your crew are just doing a wonderful job. So, you know, used to we didn't like it when you were gone, and we still don't. But, man, what a great crew you've got, and what a great find you have in David Knight. But, you know, David Knight, who filled in the last hour, because everybody I talked to, and, of course, the news is reporting on this as well, but everybody I talked to says the airlines are just a nightmare now. And it seems like the last year, every time I fly, it's totally screwed up. And this time was no different. And I'm not going to go into the whole story. All of you, I'm sure, have your own horror stories. It's just that this country is degenerating and degenerating fast. And when you go to Europe or you go even to third world countries in the Caribbean, and they're more free than the U.S. on so many fronts, it really freaks you out. At least it does from my perspective. And I've got a lot of mixed feelings concerning this, because on the one hand, horrible, 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 horrible things are happening. But on the other hand, incredibly good things are happening as well. The old saying is, it's got to get bad before it gets better. Or it's always darkest for the dawn. We call those cliches because people say them so much because it's true. Truth is stranger than fiction. It's true. Misery loves company. It's true. Governments, if they get big, will hurt you and hurt you bad. It's true. Government is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. George Washington. And America, somehow in the last 60 years, got at the point of thinking, no, 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 all that is not true. It's crazy to not want to have a giant government that runs your life. It's crazy to think that government might do something wrong. Why? Keep the faith. As John Kerry and Hillary Clinton and Obama and Michelle, but also Holland and Cameron. I mean, you look at their speeches, because I look at hundreds of news articles a day conservatively. Let's be honest. 500 to 600 articles I look at a day, maybe 100 I read. I'm a news junkie. And so, but I'm sure you're seeing this too, but these are public speeches. It's not like it's hidden, where they're saying, keep the faith, it's going to get better, government loves you, government's the answer. Don't listen to people that say that tyranny's right around the corner and that government's some sinister force, it's a force of good. No, the truth is, anything big and unaccountable will manifest the worst traits in humanity and will wreck civilizations and will burn cities and put people in slave camps. I don't care if it's the Aztecs. I don't care if it's the Babylonians. I don't care if it's the ancient Druids. I don't care if it was the Japanese during some periods, or whether it was the North Koreans, or whether it was Africa. It's the same story over and over again. Rome. And I say this a lot, but I really want to quantify it before I get into all the news. We are in a progressing tyranny. It's progressive, like brain cancer, malignant cancer. It's metastasized. It's blooming right now. And unequivocally, I can say the people running things are clearly going to stage massive terror attacks and blame it on domestic groups. And they are going to try to come arrest a lot of people. And they really are going to start a civil war. And anybody that doesn't want to go along with their tyranny They'll have ISIS, Al-Qaeda, blow something up and claim that they did it with you. And it's real simple. People either wake up to that we've been hijacked, and we are honest about it, or we're going to lose everything. And I'm 100% sure. That's why every time I end up taking off a week, I realize I should do it more. Because when I do, it's just so much clearer. But you don't need a bunch of perception or historical perspectives or super smarts to look at what's going on, not just here, but all over the world under globalist management, and to see that they've created a really deviant, sick system. And we all study history to a certain extent. I mean, everybody knows famous things that have happened in history. Everybody knows, that's another cliche, but it really is true, that elites kill their own family members, marry their horses, dress up like werewolves and tear children's throats out, sacrifice children on fiery altars, bloody altars, have giant wars, make everyone worship them as God, and then become so psychopathic they commit suicide. I mean, if you study ancient corrupt societies in Rome, you name it, though, it would end up basically that if the leader or group of leaders had nuclear weapons, they would detonate them just so they could destroy the earth. In the old days, if it was Nero or it was, I forget which, a lot of the Aztec kings and Toltecs and Olmecs, they would commit suicide as well. That's what the elites do, is they kill a bunch of people and do weird stuff. I mean, everybody knows about the elites and their weird sexual proclivities that are bizarre. And believe me, the general public has no idea what goes on in Hollywood. No idea what goes on in rock and roll. I mean, people think they know what the royal family of England's into. It's so horrible, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't even want to talk about it on air. And you see the general public who thinks they know things are corrupt and bad, but really just don't have any idea how deep the waters really are. You know, I say that it's the best of times, the worst of times, to quote the intro passage from A Tale of Two Cities. But it is the best of times and the worst of times. And we're coming to the final leg in a downward spiral cycle that is going to be the most insane, out of control, mass mental illness breakdown the world's ever witnessed, with a bunch of high-tech, GMO, nuclear weapons, melting down reactors, mass pharmakia, drugging of the population, cultural breakdown, societal rot. If we don't turn the corner soon, it's going to be earth-shaking. It's going to be biblical in nature. It's going to be a third of the Earth's population dead, conservatively. And that's what metrics show, not what the Bible says. The Bible does say that, but when you come face to face with what is now about to unfold, the purposeful, provisioned, lovingly prepared collapse of civilization, Agenda 21 on PCP. Cloward and Piven squared. With the globalist who tried to convince us that none of this was being set up, none of this was being prepared, don't pay attention to the man behind the mirror, go to sleep. And now, at the edge of the precipice, all they can use is the incredible goodwill. And what was good in Christendom and the Renaissance, those two things mixing together in Western culture, they use the good, better angels of Western civilization to then manipulate the good men and women that could stop this into actually aiding it through the new religion of political correctness that is a religion of societal suicide, a cultural national abortion of a full-grown civilization, a murder. And when you look at the truly evil people running things, they have a real desire to sink the planet. I mean, look at what globalists do to the third world countries. They've been keeping them in squalor and keeping them down and dumbing down their culture forever. And they've been doing it to a certain extent here, but wanted strong imperial command bases to launch their programs. But the age of man is coming to an end. And so now humanity has to be pulled down into the slums and have their food supply cut off so they can be socially engineered to accept full cultural control and absorption into the eugenics paradigm of forced population reduction, on which an H.R. Geiger-like Hellraiser template will be overlaid. I mean, they're not going to kill everybody to build something beautiful. The killing the people is the destination.
General, what do you think about the FBI saying that there was a terror alert on Monday about a potential Fort Hood situation?
The police are shoving people, shoving Alex, shoving the crowd.
Here we go, folks. I'm being assaulted.
Whether it's the radio show, the news websites, documentary films, or the nightly news, InfoWars is the tip of the spear.
Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security while sticking their hands down on pants on the streets?
It's up to us to set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere. And that's what PrisonPlanet.tv is designed to do.
You watch, the Assad regime is going to be blamed or accused of using chemical weapons against the so-called rebels.
What we see now is a war against reality. It's a war against the truth.
It's more vital than ever that supporters of freedom become members of PrisonPlanet.tv and share their membership with up to 11 friends and family. Visit InfoWarsNews.com today. Become a member, share your membership, and help take the InfoWar to the next level. When you study criminology, when you study psychology, when you study anthropology, it's all really the same. The patterns are repeated. And whether you believe in a physical devil or not, when we let an authoritarian system come into place, the very worst in the culture will end up migrating into the positions of power. And you'll have people low level, even in a corrupt system, that will mitigate some of that because they have humanity, and they will basically sidestep the fraud. They will sidestep the oppression. They will let you get out of the net. But once the computerized system goes into place and you have zero ability to make your own decisions in corporate life, religious life, private life, governmental systems, regulatory systems, you are now simply a biological android, a robot that is carrying out the orders it's given. And then you're allowed a little tribal stimulation and some soccer games or football, and you're allowed to have some sex, and you're allowed to, while the noose is being tightened on the species itself and you're being given binary weapons, binary poisons into your body to kill you down the road, and they'll even make money out of treating the artificial illness that you were given. And I think that's really what it all comes down to is 100% there is an artificial global scientific dictatorship forming that wants full control and is getting close. And the only way to beat it is to fully admit how real it is. Because again, the general public are still good people on average, but are just so ignorant because they're being faced with something so encompassing. And I'm like a monkey in a cage that sees the bars. And I'm simply trying to get the other creatures around me to realize that we're in an artificial system that's becoming more and more artificial all the time, whose aim is our domination and then our slow bleeding out and destruction. The goal is to imprison us. The goal is to torture us. The goal is to destroy our families, destroy our culture, and to render us down. That's why good people tend to lose in the first 3 quarters of historical fights against evil, because good just can't believe it's happening because it doesn't make sense from a perspective of someone that has empathy and that has honor and that wants to be loving and that wants to be good. To have pure darkness coming against you, you just can't believe your lying eyes. But the good news is every metric shows that government and the corporate systems that control it are in deep trouble. 7% approval rating, Gallup, for Congress. 14% approval rating, down from 17 just a few months ago for the mainstream media. Alternative media, highest approval ratings ever, meteoric metric rise. But then you have to go to the next level and realize the system knows that, and it knew that all along, and it knew this would be unpopular. That's why the armored vehicles, the tanks, the helicopters, the checkpoints are coming out of the box and coming out of the subterranean garages, is because they're taking the gloves off. But the average person, even that's going to enforce all this, is being decompartmentalized as the gloves come off. They're going, wait a minute, because the liberty movement, before we got to this point, warned everyone and was demonized and attacked. And the enemy's demonization and hatred and attack of us actually drew attention to us and is now boomeranging back on them. So we're at this key flux point right now where this could be turned around. And it's a marvel of the enemy psyop that we can be in the middle of a global financial sustained meltdown and have the establishment since 2008 globally turning the economy off on purpose, only giving themselves the literally hundreds of trillions in dollars and euros and other currencies, and then passing the debt on to us while creating giant welfare classes whose daily government prayers are answered with more welfare and more largesse, ready to do politically whatever they're told for their handouts. Now continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, I've got so many hundreds of points I want to make. But we are in the midst of the continued economic conquest of the planet by the globalists. And again, they want to economically have conquest and control so that they can then run our lives, because that's what they desire to do. And they want to run our lives in a very bad direction. And as their plan comes into crisp focus, and everyone sees the hypocrisy, everyone sees the fraud, everyone sees the security theater for what it is, a power grab, all of us will have a decision to make as it becomes more and more apparent. Are you going to speak out against this when we have a chance to turn it around? Or are you going to be forced to stand up against it when there's not much hope? But now you realize how evil it is, and just your fight or flight kicks in. There's nowhere to run. You fight. I just got chills when I said that. And then, of course, there's a worse time. And I'm paraphrasing Winston Churchill right now. There's a time when you don't have any hope. But you're still going to fight because it's better than being on your knees having these wolves pull your guts out your rear end. That's what wolves do, folks. They eat you from the hind end up because they like to watch you. They like to hurt you. They like to hear you cry and beg. They enjoy their red meat with screams. The New World Order has already killed most of us. They've already taken 10, 20, 30 years off our lifespans. They've already fed us GMO poison. They've already filled our water with poison. And they sell us expensive treatments for what they've helped engineer. A lot of it's human stupidity and human corruption, but guiding it and riding this beast of corruption, directing it like a grand conductor, is the archetype of Mephistopheles. And people ask why? Because to them, great evil and great suffering of the innocent is a beautiful thing. And we are a nation that rationalized and made up the legal arguments that on many levels can make sense to you. That 53 million babies since 1973 were not humans. And black people aren't humans, so go ahead and inject them with syphilis. And Appalachian poor white people weren't humans, so go ahead and sterilize them, inject them with syphilis. Oh, yeah, that's come out too. It's just, you know, anybody they can get their hands on who nobody will believe, they're going to do this to them. What do you think they're doing now when I could sit here for 10 hours and just read declassified public tests of lethal and close to lethal agents on innocent populations by the people running this government? Of course they took blood for 42 years worldwide at birth from everyone under globalist control. That's the British Empire, Europe, and the United States. That's the global empire right now. I mean, my gosh, the Arabs are corrupt and out of control. The Russians have got their own corruption, but they're not putting cancer viruses in their vaccines. Oh, they were back in the Soviet Union. That's why they've rejected everything they were, at least on the surface. Old habits die hard. But it's all real. The New World Order is real. All the things they're doing to us are real. Look at the lawlessness of military bases all over the United States as staging grounds for the welfare queens of Latin America, and the rest of the world now is coming. These aren't the, quote, hardworking immigrants that would come here in the past, who then second generation will become welfare queens like other Americans, but still vote for the Democratic Party and gun control and socialism because that was the group that was their friend, even as they push Gardasil shots on their daughters. Sterilization shots. Now it's literally the criminal dregs, the mules, the gang members, the mentally disturbed, the prisoners, and, you know, 500-pound women with 6 kids and 6X underwear. Dumping them here. And then having the gall with Nancy Pelosi last weekend coming out and saying we're all citizens of North America, this hemisphere. We're all Americans. That's the new talking point. That's Petraeus saying, what's next? North America. But it's not some North America where you mix Switzerland and the United States better attributes with the better attributes of Latin America. And there's some good things about Latin America. No, no, no. You take the worst things and you put them on a pedestal. And why did the CIA declassify last year that they would promote sick and deviant art, and that they would push that on the American audience because they had to get you, in their own words, used to accepting anything. And it's not that I can't handle sick or deviant art. It's not that there isn't even something sometimes too sick or deviant art to illustrate something political. It's that they pushed it to sabotage the elective process that a normal brain would develop over life to push people into degeneracy. So that you would be weak and could be destroyed. And I told people that for years, and now it's declassified. I mean, it's not, I don't need to read classified documents to look at an operation. And again, it is as if Satan himself ran our government, whether you believe in the devil or not. Because the way they get good people to go along with this and to work for it and to be part of it, and how deceived they are and how invested in the lie they are, destroying their own future. Imagine the fact that we broke 3 weeks ago with emergency managers, ICE agents, video of it, whistleblowers, on camera, off camera, by every journalistic standard. Wasn't the radio host, Alex Jones, the mad prophet of the airwaves, as they call me, you know, at the Southern Poverty Law Center or Time Magazine, up there ranting about it. It was just reporters being serious, going down doing interviews. And a week after we broke it, Drudge Report carried it, drudgereport.com carried the Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com articles. AP came out and said, yeah, the illegals are being bust deeper into the United States by the government. They didn't go on to say, by the way, the government pays for it and advertises for them to come up here, but they told most of the story. And then guess who came out as soon as that got traction? The White House came out through Media Matters, but the White House came out as well and said, I mean, this is the anatomy, the tissue of a total fraud, the structure of it. You can study just this one lie with a master's degree. And because once you understood this lie, you understand how the other lies work. And how the lie just sits there as a fraud, and then it's just an excuse for us to do nothing, Congress to do nothing, the states to do nothing, while our entire futures are being burned down now. This is only the beginning. You have small towns collapsing all along the 2,000-mile border. You have crime exploding. And you have the federal government pulling in with buses from Mexico and no Border Patrol trucks and a stand down, and not just us saying it. The Border Patrol Union president and vice president are on Infowars.com, Breitbart, on record saying, yes, we've been ordered 3 months ago to stand down from Southern California to Southern Texas, from San Diego to Brownsville, is the quote. There is no border enforcement going on. I was down in Big Bend 3 months ago and told you, I used to see Border Patrol everywhere. They were nowhere. I used to pull into the checkpoint in Alpine, 70 miles in, where they would let illegals through but be told to go after citizens. There was no one there. One guy, and they just were waving everybody through. Wide open. And Mexico opened its southern border on record. I mean, this is the false flag, and the public is so in the dark that even when AP comes out and admits it, no one has an instinct to get freaked out about it. And so really, I'm just marveling, taking off 6 days, spending time with family. I just in retrospective, it just hit me. It's all real. It's all beyond what I thought. It's so evil. And it's all just about to start. You've seen nothing yet. They really want to put 50 million of us in camps just in the U.S. alone and pull our teeth out with pliers, folks. And they will do it because they want to. They really are going to blow up federal buildings and blame it on us. They really are going to bring in a total world government and release bioweapons in the next phase after that and just start culling people en masse. They really are wrecking everything on purpose. And again, you go to the TSA and you say you want to opt out, and the public's been bucking them so much they've made them behave and gotten rid of the more imperious people. But I had this one guy literally bug his eyes out and go, so you want to opt out? Like he was scaring me. This is in Houston last night, coming back through at the end of, quote, customs. And I started just preaching at them, not in a loud voice, and they were freaking out. They had like 6 of them around me. And all I was doing was calmly saying, listen, this is all basically unlawful. But I said, the southern border is wide open. And I said, you're supposed to let me through and just do your, quote, pat down. I've done nothing to you. And I'm sad that you're such an unhappy person that you're bugging your eyes out at me and getting mad at me. And this went on for about 2 minutes, and they all just collapsed. And then the head guy came over and apologized and took me through. And I realized the fact that I didn't even get angry at him. I literally said, you are a poor slave, and I love you. And I'm sorry that you've had such an empty life, that this is the only job you've got, and you're on this petty power trip, and that this is a fraud and a lie. And you're jumping all over me. This old lady, it was like 6 of them, in my face, and you're acting like you'd like to hurt me. Look at your fellow citizens with their shoes off to be humiliated, like they're going into a delousing Nazi facility with their clothes stripped off. And just look at how this is a total preparation for takeover. And how they lie to you about the cancer risk of these machines. And see, it wasn't fun anymore. Because I wasn't even angry at them. But our borders are wide open. And they now have internal highway checkpoints. They now have snitch systems. They now, in the news, oh, yes, nationwide, we're putting up microphones and systems that grab all your data without warrants and track everything you do in real time to keep you safe. It's all completely illegal, but we're doing it. But the border's wide open. Oh, and by the way, the Tea Party are terrorists, and the Pentagon's training that they're going to start a civil war and start bombing police stations everywhere with no proof, no evidence, no background, no history. Again, with all the sitcoms and dramas showing the patriots blowing everything up in almost every TV show out there. Every cop show, every drama, every FBI show, every, 24 type show. Because they're preparing that. And they don't care how many people die, because they're sitting offshore. They're going to watch the whole thing and fiddle while America burns. And so really it comes down to this point for the American people. And the people of the world as well. This is global. You may think you're in Switzerland, you're going to be okay. You may think you're off in some Caribbean island, you're going to be okay. No, you're not. This collapse is a spiritual collapse, a cultural collapse of morals. And all of it is so expertly done, where they only gave the TV licenses to the most horrible fake con artist preachers to destroy Christianity. I mean, it's genius. I mean, I marvel at it, quite frankly, because I see the whole design. And then I see the public walking into the meat grinder. Alex Jones here to break down some exciting developments in the area of research concerning supplemental iodine. It's nothing less than phenomenal. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. And I used some of the mainline iodine supplements and they upset my stomach and I had some issues with it. Until I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group, who I was already interviewing as an expert on my radio show, and I began taking the product before he actually rolled it out. You now know it as Survival Shield True Nascent Iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals that are incredibly powerful that no one else has as a source for their iodine from between 7,000 and 12,000 feet, literally drilled out of the ground. You put it on a hot plate and it turns into the pure gas. No one else has 99.99% pure iodine. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. I was over 270 pounds. And with the iodine, exercise, and better diet, I have lost now more than 50 pounds total, and I'm continuing to lose the weight. I have more energy, my libido, all this crap came out of my skin. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating. This is trailblazing. And the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.